Fort Worth has become kind of a hub for this crab bucket that I call the Texas country red dirt scene. I literally wrote these songs while I was stoned in my garage. Like, it's just so wild. What the military did do for me was give me willpower that I didn't know I had. Like, insatiable desire to pursue things until they're finished.
And I love Rugged Revival.
This is a Rugged Revival podcast. We're your home of the UK's country, Americana and Roots music community. First off, we are celebrating 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So we just want to say a huge thanks to everyone who's tuned in so far. And we're also celebrating the fact it's our 50th podcast episode for the Rugged Revival. And I think what better way to bring it home than to welcome the main man of one of my favourite bands right now, Mr. John Teague from the Teague Brothers Band. How are we doing, dude?
Hello. Doing well, man. Glad to be here.
Legend. Look, I appreciate you coming on. We were just talking a moment off air about, trying to get you on the show. Just obsessed with your music since I've been out in Texas and listened to it before. So thank you for carving out some time to speak to us. And, what have you been up to lately, mate?
Dude, right now we're working on a new record, which it sounds crazy, but we plan on dropping a whole new record in within about a year and a half's time, which is pretty fast. And historically usually it's 2 to 3 years before we drop a record, but people digest stuff so much faster. So between that and being on the road, we've been busy this year. We've hit quite a few states, mainly just writing, recording, playing live shows, man. That's it. Stuff like this, hanging out with you.
Yeah, like I said, mate, I appreciate the time. It's I was on your socials all week, seeing what you've been up to, and this is how we kind of prepare for the show as well, to see if there's any talking points. But I could see you've been gigging with people like the Mickey and the Motor Cars, who we love. Yeah. You've been down at Green Hall, and just all over the place, man. So it must be nice to perhaps take a day off at some point to just chill out.
I would. I have such an interesting day gig that I do too. I do some engineering work, and that has evolved into like coding and a lot of AI stuff. And then I built a band management platform that I'm just now kind of rolling out, and a big marketing strategy is kind of rolling out right now. So things are crazy busy right now between the three, the three things I love to do.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did find that interesting. I think it's called Band to Go, isn't it? The app that you've created.
Yeah. Band 2G. Yeah, which is kind of a shortening of either like band together or band to go. But yeah, essentially it's pretty much like it's a whole platform for a band to. Because I came from. You had like 5 spreadsheets of different things. You're keeping up with dates. And then a big agency approaches you and they're like, hey, show us your tour history. And then you got to go and aggregate all this data together and make it presentable with your logo and all this stuff, and then submit it to them. And, I was like, oh, I'm tired of doing it. And then your taxes at the end of the year. So I funneled everything all in together. Everything from like your charts for your songs are in there. And then you can build a set list for your songs, and then you can book a show through there. Then you can, once you have the show, it gets put on your calendar. You can invite your band. You can set how much you're going to pay everybody. Then you can also attach that set list to the show. So so at the show, there's no question. You open up your phone, and there's a set list right there for you. Just a million. It's basically kind of like cradle to grave, seamless management of your band. It's unprecedented, and that's one reason why I wanted to do it, because like there's just nothing else like it out there.
Yeah, you're right. It's when I looked at it, I thought that seems like a musician's dream to have that all under one app, man. So is that now live? Is that kind of taking on kind of users right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taking on users. I got about 30 users right now, just from word of mouth, like friends. And the guys in my band, they occasionally play with other bands, and they're like, you really need to start using this, because from the musician's perspective, like the sideman, the guitar player, from his perspective, if he has all his bands in there, then they can see his availability. He can decline and accept shows and manage his whole world inside of there as well. So it's kind of just from my band putting pressure on other bands, and then that band, the word of mouth has just kind of slowly expanded. And some of the bigger artists like Dalton Domino and Shelby Stone, they've bought in, so they have accounts on there. And some of my homies that I was like, you have to be on here, like it's going to change your life. They've jumped in too, like Jordan Nix. But yeah, it's extremely interesting. There's a patent pending that's out there right now, because we've had some Nashville interest, which I'm afraid to let them in on it, because I'm afraid, you guys are going to industrialize this, and I really don't want that. But it's still exciting. It's like, okay, this is disruptive. It could be, I've put 2,500 venues in there with all their contact information. So that's part of the whole premise, band together. So if you join it, you have access to all 2,500 of those venues and all their contact information, everything that you need to do to book the show. Now, whether you get a show or not, through the app is totally up to you. All you have to do the work. There's no one's going to sit in this chair and send those emails, So, but at least you have a platform, and it just kind of eliminates that barrier for entry that people feel like they always had, So it's perfect for the independent artists. It's also perfect for like a touring artist. Like I have 2 agents. Those agents are both in Pan2G, and they fill our calendar up through there, and then it automatically syncs up to our band calendar so that everybody sees. So it's been interesting to see it grow so fast. I think I developed it in October last year, and it's blown up. I get pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I get excited about that stuff. I'm a tech nerd, and I've been since AI's come along, and even vibe coding and stuff like that. It's been interesting, for noobs like me who have no coding background to but have a creative itch to try and create something. I think the hardest thing is knowing what to create. But it sounds like the concept you've got is incredible. So can people like venue owners have a portal to go on there to kind of see who's available on certain days? Does it work like that too?
That's one of the things that we're aiming for. We're even looking at like a ticket portal too. So instead of you going to bands in town, and if you've done all this work inside of Band2G to like prepare your shows and all this stuff, like why not make them visible and with the ticket link right there? And then it's kind of contrary to bands in town a little bit, but I also have an upload into bands in town, but the venue portal kind of view of it, I've kind of left them out of it, almost intentional for now. But I have had venues that said, dude, we really would like to see this, because then we could manage our own contact information on there and keep up with our own profile. That way, bands that do want to reach out, they're reaching out to the right people and all that stuff. So, and if I do that, I have a tag in there for like verified, like, so if a venue actually comes in and says, hey, yeah, this is the right information, we're going to take ownership of this, then it'll become a verified venue and bands can reach out to them directly. But yeah, I mean, that's the funnest part about it, is the band can making these connections, from seamless connections, like one place where everyone can kind of manage all of their things that has something to do with this, the bands themselves to opportunities. And then I would love it to also encompass the rest of the world too. But we'll have to see how it works out. If I can get it going in the States, then I'll be able to roll it out, on more of a global platform. But for now, it's just limited to the States,
Yeah, no, that makes sense, mate. And where can we find it? So it's band2g.com, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, band2g.com. It's work. I mean, it's stuff that you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's another interesting point is a lot of bands don't realize what work they really should be focusing on. And this tees it all up for you. It tells you, hey, where's your fan base at? Where's all the emails for all your fans that are following you? Do you have this email list? If you do, put it in here. And then if you have a show that's in the area, from Band 2G, I'll tee up a notification to those bands that you're coming to this area. So it's as simple as that, just seamlessly connecting your fans, the venues, your bandmates, your songs to your set list. There's even a feature on there and then I'll get off of this because I know it can be a little boring. But there's even a feature called Hotspots, and it's basically a map of the whole world, right? And what I've done is created a portal where you can import or put all of your plays and streams from your radio, from all the streaming platforms. If you put them in there, it'll geolocate them and put these hotspots over the map, and you can see visually where you're being played, right? But then you can also click on those hotspots, and they'll open up every venue within 50 miles of each of those, So it's pretty interesting, I say.
Yeah, honestly, mate, when I looked at that, I thought that solves so many problems for independent artists. All the stuff that we talk about on these podcasts about what they find difficult, what they don't like doing. And, when I saw kind of snippets of what you're doing, I mean, I had to ask anyway, because I just, love all that stuff. And this could be a whole new episode, mate. I think we'll probably come back to that. And,
yeah,
but I think for any independent artist, go and check that out. But anyway, mate, back to you specifically. This is why we got you on. But yeah, I just we always dial it back right to the beginning in terms of, we're quite nosy in terms of where people are from originally, where you grew up and what growing up was like for you. And, that's kind of the question I'd like to put to you, John, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up with a family of musicians, so like just music in general has always been just part of my life. I didn't necessarily ask for it; it was just a gift, And you don't really know how much of a gift it is until you realize there's not too many people who have families like that, But my mom and my dad, both pretty accomplished songwriters themselves, and did a lot. Played their whole lives, and they're retired now, but they showed me, how to pursue a passion that is outside of, the standard, like, normal life, like you can do something special, that and unique and follow your dreams in a way. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but truly, whenever you fall in love with a song and then you find out you might have a knack for actually performing and singing these songs, they kind of showed me that these things were possible. So anyway, early in my life, that's kind of what I just kind of followed suit. They gave me a guitar when I was 10 years old, and then it was off to the races. I joined a band probably when I was 13, 14 years old, started playing little, BS gigs, and then that evolved into I joined a metal band when I was like 16, and I lied to them about my age, and I was like, yeah, I'm 18 years old. And they're like, oh, cool, man, well, we got a gig at this bar. And I'm like trying to get into the bar, and they let me in. But it was a big deal here, when I finally turned 18, they were like, you're just now 18. I was like, yeah. They were like, well, shit. Well, it would have been nice to know 2 years ago whenever we were all, smoking weed together. So, and they were in their early 20s. But it was really cool, man. I lived a really interesting life. And not long after that, I joined the military. I was served in the U.S. Army, and did 4 years. I fought in Iraq, and then came back, and I started writing country songs. It's just been a whirlwind since then, really. I released a couple good records that I'm proud of. and been on the road since 2019, roughly.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of the military aspect, we've had a few ex-military guys on the podcast before, and they said that kind of helped shape what they wanted to do with sometimes the downtime that you get when you're on tour over there, to think about writing, creating music, and perhaps what you want to do after the military. Is that kind of how it sat with you?
A little bit, I can't say that is something that I found inspirational. I don't necessarily get any inspiration from that. Mainly because I feel like the whole like Toby Keith, like Liberty Bells ringing in the background and American flags and eagle screeches is just a little bit like cliche, it's just been overdone. And so even back then I felt that way. And I've always I had a knack for poetry, and I've always seeked a better use for literary terms, or like using idioms and songs and stuff, and then finding songwriters the likes of like Robert O'Keefe and like Evan Felker and folks like that who are pretty much masters in the craft. I drove inspiration more from them to like get into the country music and stuff, which is a little bit more down to earth, rootsy, real life, blue collar stuff instead of all of these obscure poetry, and shit. And yeah, it's true. But yeah, I mean, those experiences are there, and I do, tap those emotions occasionally, but you won't ever catch me singing a song about the American flag or something like that,
Yeah.
So I'm a little different in that aspect. It does, I will say this, like what the military did do for me was give me willpower that I didn't know I had, like a insatiable a desire to pursue things until they're finished. And that's something that I could attribute to my military service for sure, because like I wasn't born with that. That was something that I definitely was instilled in me during that time, by some drill sergeant fucking yelling in my fucking ears and shit.
It gets in your head eventually.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like you're like, I am solely responsible for this one thing, and if my name's on it, I'm gonna see it all the way through the end. And that's just that drive. I don't think I could definitely give it to that, because my family and I generally were pretty lazy. That's true.
That's hilarious, man. It's no, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm always interested to kind of know people's backgrounds from that respect, and sometimes it's difficult for people to talk, or it's just different experiences. But no, that's appreciated, John. I became acquainted with your band when we were out in Texas for that kind of short period back in October. So we went to the Stocktober event, and I was gutted, man. I got home and was like, I didn't realize you were actually at the event because there were so many people there. But I do remember my co-host, Ronnie, who's not on the show now, but we were there together that night. And I do remember you going up early on in the night with another artist. I can't remember who it was, but I do remember saying, "Oh, this guy is incredible." And it was only afterwards that I realized it was you. A little bit gutted. I didn't get a chance to pop over, say hello, buy you a beer, and get acquainted that way. But I did bump into Taylor Oakes, who I think plays in your band.
Yeah.
Is that right? So so we
right.
kind of got halfway there, I suppose. From doing
halfway there, I like that.
Story of my life,
start
man.
using
But what I liked about Stocktober, and I keep blowing smoke up Talbot's arse, is that I think that was just a unique networking opportunity, not just for industry people or podcasters like me and Patrick and Soul Gravy, but the amount of artists that I spoke to that night to say we never get to do this. You're kind of like passing ships in the night that you might get to see a friend or someone that you admire for 5 minutes, at a gig, or just in passing. So was that the same for you? Has that been your kind of experience, mate?
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, it was a bit of a blur that particular night, but I appreciate that this is happening. These connections are very valuable, and not just from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. You find people who connect with you that you didn't even know. Otherwise you wouldn't have even known that they connected with some fucking song that I wrote when I was high one night in the garage. Like, I ended up maybe being lifelong friends with somebody over this. And that's kind of beauty of the whole scene in general, is it's a bit of a fraternity. And y'all have definitely become part of that fraternity, and Talbot's kind of facilitating some of this because he knows he's kind of in between, which but I love to see it. This year, especially this past year, was really cool. There was a lot of less normies there, what I would call them, and there was a lot more people that were like, "Hey, yeah, I'm in this band, and I'm in this band, and I do this podcast." So yeah, I think we got to have this, man. I think it's necessary, and Fort Worth has become kind of a hub for this crab bucket that I call the Texas country red dirt scene. And I think it was an inevitable thing. It's just a matter of who was going to do it. And, Talbot and you guys are certainly kind of leading the charge. And y'all become part of the glue, and that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's we're just so appreciative that people let us into the scene. We're completely new to it. So we're like, thanks so much. And I kind of wish I didn't drink so much towards the end of the night. I would have spoke to even more people. But
it's all good.
That's what happens, man. But no, I would say when we were out there, we did a lot of driving. We're not used to that in the UK. I keep saying it on the podcast. I don't think I've ever sat in a car for so fucking long as we did with like Talbot, and going to places like Fisher. But I'm glad we did, because there were, we had some hilarious conversations just, to fill the time, but also got to listen to some music. And Talbot, put your album on, your latest album, Wish You Were Here. And we got to listen to the entire album on the way there, and to kind of give it a proper listen and to get properly acquainted even more. So I suppose that's a good segue into talking about that, mate. So I think I got I got the name wrong for the album. It's Wish You the World, so apologies for that. But you released that back in May 25, so I got to listen to it around October. But yeah, talk us through that particular album and kind of the backstory to it.
Sure, man. Yeah. Wish You the World was kind of one of those, like, I want to do this record my way. And, I had a band that was a little bit like changing. It was like in the middle of an evolution. So sonically, we made some choices that were different than the last few albums that we had released. And I kind of stuck to my guns, and I was like, I don't want as much fiddle on this record. I want it to be a little bit more of stadium rock here and there, but then also still focus on the song, itself. And now, when I wrote those songs, I had no idea that's how we were going to present them, but that's just how they ended up being and how I've enjoyed them most once we got the whole band involved. But a lot of those tunes I wrote a few years ahead of time, and then we started playing a couple of them leading up to the recording of the record. And it was a pretty tough time in my life whenever that record was going in. I lost my grandmother. I lost my father-in-law, and there was a lot of stuff going on, like literally amidst the recording of the record. And I think a lot of that emotion ended up being kind of translated into it. I hear it whenever I listen to it. I'm like, God dang it. So I think personally, Wish the World's one of my favorite records that I've done. It's everything that I've wanted it to be. I'm pretty selfish. I don't care about what anybody else wants. So, like, I'm just like, oh yeah, you wanted more fiddle? How about not? Yeah. I'm pretty selfish when it comes to, but at the end of the day, if I'm not writing these songs for me, then I'm not doing it for the right reasons. At least that's where I put my flag anyway. So yeah, that's kind of a high level scope of what Wish You the World was. I worked with a really badass producer that he did my first record, Harvest Day. His name's Derek Hames. He's out of Sugar Land, Texas, but fantastic guy. I mean, he's a genius. And for some reason, he knows the sound. He understands what I'm putting down, and 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 he really appreciates the songs, which makes it even more fun because he loves the songs as much as I do.
Yeah, man. So you talk about knowing your sound. What would you describe that as for somebody that hasn't listened to your music yet? How would you kind of describe that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gambit. It's all kind of it's all over the place. But I would say the first thing that I'd describe our sound as it's quite honest. I try to keep it pretty honest. Like there's not, despite what you may be hearing, there's the bells and whistles and all that stuff, are really like us really playing these parts, and I seek out good talent so that we can have like this really nice crisp sound. But the guys that I play or that I have are kind of they come from different backgrounds, and most of them are, they have like the drummer might have a really strong folk rock influence, where the guitar player's got a little bit more Southern rock influence. And I've kind of got influences that range from Sleep Token to Turnpike Troubadours, so kind of, it's definitely a variety show, in a way. But at the root of it all is honesty. So I would say it's a little bit of like folk rock and country music with a little touch of Foo Fighters in there, where I can where I can get it in, But
yeah, I think that's a great explanation because, when you do these podcasts, you can be kind of tempted just to read out the Spotify bio. And I think that's just, it's boring as hell for me as well.
It can be.
I just think, I just want to get your take on it. And, I've been listening to all of your kind of records going back to, I think your first release on Spotify around 2019. And I love the earlier stuff too. I think you still got that sound, that kind of, like you say, almost that stadium rock country sound, and going back to songs like Coyote, which is one of my favorites, and up to now. So do you think from your perspective, do you think your sound's morphed a lot over the years?
That's a great question. I really don't know. I mean, I would say how we've captured and what we have captured has definitely varied, but what I pursue in my songwriting has not necessarily changed. I feel like songs they should stand on their own. And so, because of that, a lot of times they feel like they're in their own little world, and they are, Now, how you glue these songs together to make a record is a different story. And I'm not a record producer, so I can't really make that glue. I can't really describe that glue very well, but the songs themselves to me are usually pretty personal or complete bullshit that are just like, that are just fun. They're just fun songs, like that are just fun stories that you just tap into some made up universe in your head. And then I just kind of like find characters in that universe and I try to describe them the best I can and what they're going through, and put music around it and melody. And then I leave the rest to the band, So I give the band a lot of creative freedom, and that's kind of how we end up with these tunes. I don't know if they change a whole lot. I know sonically they are obviously going to be different record to record if you're A-Bing these songs, but if you come to a show, you would probably hear them all feel pretty naturally. You would consume them similarly. They would feel the same because it's the same instrumentation on different songs with different melody and different presentation. But that's the fun part of it. How do what we captured in the studio, how can we transform that into a live show and capture the essence of the song even like now, we don't have a fiddle player. Instead, I play harmonica and I have a keyboard player to kind of sonically fill that void. And people just have totally forgot that we had a fiddle player, whenever you see us live, because we're putting on a different kind of spectacle, But yeah, it's an interesting. I never really look at if they changed. I can't really tell from the inside. Now, if I go A/B, Love and War record to Wish You the World, yeah, they're gonna sound like totally different. But the evolution of the tunes to me are a little bit more like about the message. I think the messaging has definitely changed. Sometimes I'm not trying to do as much shock and awe in the lyricism. Instead, I'm trying to find poetry, instead. And I think that's just me maturing as a songwriter and as a human being too. I'm getting older,
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, man. And, like I said, I haven't put down the record since I come back from Texas. There's certain records over the past couple of years that I've just played to death, and yeah, "Wish You the World" is absolutely one of them. I just think every song is incredible on there. Not just saying it for the sake of you being on here. There's some records people put out, and there's perhaps one or two that you like, but for this one, man, yeah, it's great. And I have a terrible affliction, in terms of I can never remember the lyrics to any song. And I can remember the lyrics to several of your songs. So, I think that goes down to your songwriting and how you put that together.
I'll take that as
man.
a win. Yeah, I might hang it on the wall.
Oh, it is honestly a proper affliction. But yeah, I mean, there's certain songs on there that are obviously my personal favorite, but I've seen online and across the radio stations in Texas, particularly, that Fire has done incredibly well, particularly on the ranch radio that I've seen. And is that a surprise to you, or is that the kind of song that you thought would do the most?
Yeah, that was a surprise. Because I was like, dude, we have all these bangers, and then you're like gonna put the slowest damn song on the record on it. Yeah, I was a little shocked by that one for sure. I was well, honestly, I wrote that song a long time ago, like right in the middle of COVID, and then I had pitched it to a couple female artists, and they didn't take them on. They ended up passing on the song, and I ultimately, when it came down to the song cutting and the decision, like, okay, what song we're gonna make? So we have 20 songs, let's pick 10. It ended up just, through a process of elimination, it ended up being one of the 10. And I was like, you know what, this will be exciting, but we're gonna do this song the way I want to do it, which is a little bit more in a step in the direction of like, do you know who Watch House is? Or I think they were called Mandolin Orange
Mandarin Orange,
before.
yeah, great band, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be, this song is meant to be in a step in that direction. And so the band disagreed, but I was like, trust me, this is how it's got to be. And thankfully, by the time we kind of got to the editing room floor, everybody understood like how it needed to sound, and everyone bought into it. It ended up being a number one. I had no idea. I had no idea that's the one, right, out of all of them that, but I think people, it's just timing. When people are going through a lot, in their personal lives, and something just resonates, there's no way to control. I have figured out since I've started releasing records that I have no idea how to choose the hit single. I am the worst, because when I'm like, that's the one, this is the title track, let's go. And then it's not the one. Yeah, and usually it's 2 or 3, maybe 4 deep in there, so it was a shock. I mean, in fact, when they started playing it on the radio, my wife, she showed me a text from her friend. They go, they just played Fire on the radio. I was like, what? I didn't authorize that, and so I called my radio promoter. I was like, Jen, they're playing Fire on the radio. She goes, that's my favorite song on the record. I'm like, well, shit, why didn't you say that? And she goes, well, you have all these other ones that I like too. But she's like, what do you want to do? I said, well, let's make it a proper single and push it out there, and let's just see what it does. And we did. And she did it pro bono, because she had she didn't know, either how well it would do. But it definitely put us on the map. I mean, millions of people listen to the ranch. So it definitely changed the ticket sales around here, which is pretty cool. I love to see that. I mean, traveling across the country playing and people know the lyrics to that song. I mean, it definitely helps, but it was a shocker, let me tell you. You know.
Yeah, no, that's incredible to hear, and it's no, rightly so. It's done well. It's a great. So it's just a different type of song on the album. When you think
It
about the
is.
Tulip and the opening track, Breathe, which is probably my personal favorite. It has a different flavor, and I suppose that's down to the versatility of the album itself. It's so yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose we're selling it really well. Let's encourage people to listen to it. I'm going to do that from a UK standpoint, but yeah, it's good old ranch radio, man. They're
That's it, dude. They're the
coming up top.
tastemakers around here. Yeah.
They are, yeah. They've introduced me to a lot of artists over the years, and I'm so glad. I'd love to go back one day and to kind of go see the studios, maybe if they let me in. Probably not, a weird UK
Oh
dude.
yeah.
So,
Oh
so
hell, we'll both knock on the door at the same time. He'll let you in.
we'll bring him a whiskey. Maybe he'll open up
Oh
for us.
yeah. It'll be fun.
But that's great, man. I suppose thinking about your career all the way up to date. Has it been 3 kind of top moments that you could think of that have been your kind of the best things that have happened to you as an artist so far? What can you think about?
I just think about opportunities. Like folks went out of their way to open doors for me that I never expected or asked for. If I was to name 3, I mean, a lot of them didn't happen on stage. I got to play with Shane Smith and the Saints in front of 9,000 people. That was pretty freaking cool. But it was, I would say like one of the things that really like put us on the map was 2019, late 2019, we released Harvest Day record. And February of 2020, I met Evan Felker from the Turnpike Troubadours. And like we hit it off, and next thing you know, he's opening doors for me that I didn't ask for. He approached me and was like, I love these tunes, what can I do to help you? I'm like, man, I mean, just hearing that is good enough. Well, then I get a call from his booking agent, and now I'm on the map all of a sudden. And not long after that, we did a benefit together to raise some money. That was for a friend of mine who was terminally ill. He only had like 3 weeks left, and Evan came on stage, and we kind of created a viral moment inadvertently, but it happened nonetheless. He came on, and my band backed him up while he played like 7 of his hits for my buddy Eric, who passed away. And that was never meant to be some kind of big to do or anything, but it was meant to be something for him. But the whole world got to see that charity, and that helped us put us on the map even more, And then getting just phone calls from people that were like, "Hey, I'm with so and so booking agency out of Nashville, and what can I do to help?" And it all happened very naturally. Like they just heard the song on a tour bus while with another big ass band, and our song just happened to be on the playlist, and then all of a sudden they're like jumping through hoops to help us, things like that. And then a million other things. Fans who just wanted to give us tons of money for no reason other than they love the music. And I mean, I can't thank those people enough. Just getting fans in general has been incredibly special to me. Like it means the world to me because I literally wrote these songs while I was stoned in my garage. Like, so,
You're no kidding.
It's just so wild. Sometimes, like looking back, I'm like, I can't believe this. This came from me just, having something and just stuck in my head. And then all of a sudden, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. We put in work. It's not magic. There's no magic. You might think it is, but it seems magical, but it's not. There's a lot of work, and getting a band, just keeping a band together. And then it is like herding cats, not even adult cats, like kittens. Like it's rough, but you figure out a way. If you want it, bad enough, you figure it out. But anyway, I would say that those moments and the special moments created in the studio, that those all kind of, it's hard to sum up a lot of that, uh, these things that happen to you. But I can tell you this, none of them would have happened if I'd have gave up, and there's been plenty of times I was like, man, fuck this, this is a lot, but I, I have a wonderful wife who keeps my head where it needs to be. It's like, you know what? You need to go take out the trash. You ought to go
Take
mow
your
the
life.
grass, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go touch
Having
some
good people
grass,
around
and
you.
yeah, that's right. And animals and things like that, they just keep you grounded to the planet a little bit more. And I think a lot of songwriters are missing that. Like they're not out there and like doing physical things to how can you be inspired? If you're only inspired by what you hear on the radio, you're just going to regurgitate the things that you hear all the time instead of getting out there and living life a little bit or reading a good book. Like how can you be a craftsman in the literary arts when you don't read? Like these things are important. And I try to tell other young songwriters that too. I'm like, man, you need to read some books. Like you really want to write a good song, you need to go read. Or you need to go like travel. It's like live a full life, fall in love, things like that. I don't know. I know that was a
That's some
pretty
great advice.
particular question, but it taps on a few things along the way.
Yeah, you give me some good answers there. It's interesting because I get fired some answers, sort of questions randomly on the internet as well, and somebody asked me, what advice would you give to some like new podcasters or people coming out, rather than the kind of usual cliche, just keep at it, keep going. And I love the fact that you kind of expanded, read books, fall in love, live life. And I think that is key to a lot of things. It's just experience things. Go and do something, create something, fulfill
do
that
something
itch.
hard,
Yeah.
really. Like do something difficult and figure it out, and then fail. Like you really want to fucking write a good song, fail at something. I promise you, you'll find something to write about. Yeah.
That's some amazing kind of advice, man. So thanks for sharing that, dude. It wouldn't be a podcast if there wasn't a quick fire round in between, just to kind of lighten the mood, man. So I'm going to fire a few questions at you. No thinking required. Just hit me with the first thing that you can think of. Okay, man. So number one, favorite musician from your childhood?
Corey Taylor, Slipknot.
One independent artist that more people should know about?
Jordan Nix.
Best album or song that you've heard from the last 5 years?
Sleep Token, even in Arcadia.
One song that always puts you in a good mood?
Foo Fighters, Monkey Wrench.
One song that you think defines who you are as a person and musician right now?
The Road Goes On Forever, Robert Earl King. Yeah.
Legend. This could be different. Yeah. You answered it in rapid time, unlike some other people that I've heard these two. So kudos to you, dude. Thank you, man. So kind of moving on slightly. So I love the independent scene, and I know I'm biased because we went there last year, but I think Texas has got one of the best music scenes on the whole planet. I'm just completely envious of what you guys have going on. The fact that you can go to any bar, like Fort Worth, for example, on any given night and see world-class kind of talent and playing original music as well. Because I suppose my beef in the UK is that we have far too many tribute acts, too many cover acts, and I want to hear new stuff. I want to hear what you've written. And I'm finding that in Texas. You have an amazing scene, and I suppose what are your thoughts on it? How have you found it so far?
Similarly, I mean, I've been to Nashville a handful of times, and it's like great musicians show up there, and then they end up just living in the bar playing 3-4 hour cover song sets, and it's disheartening. But around here, I see people like truly appreciating the art of it, and rather than just background music. Instead, like listening rooms are blowing up right now. I don't know how many, if you're familiar with the term listening room, but around here it's blown up. Like people want to hear the songs, they want to hear them delivered in the rawest form, like straight from my acoustic guitar and me, it's to them. And I think, you know, and also they're more affordable. I mean, shit, you can get into a listening room for $50, you know, and you're gonna, it's like going to a movie. You're gonna get 90 minutes of pure, you know, songwriting and, you know, this more personal interaction with the artist, as opposed to going to a $500 ticket concert in a stadium, you know. And I'm not saying there's any shortage of that, but I mean, I've heard about this blue dot fever. I mean, this shit's real. The price of tickets is going nuts.
Mm.
And thank God I'm in a particular place here in this region and in this scene where we appreciate like artists, songwriting, you know, honesty, and it's not a series of tribute acts. I mean, there's no shortage of them, but there's definitely there's a place for guys like me to thrive. And I think it's important that we continue to try to build that momentum and keep that going. And I think not just me, but like you guys, like what you're doing, what Talba's doing, what I mean, there's 100 other folks across the country, you know, in the Midwest and in the Southeast, and that are trying to keep nurturing this, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, uh, without that group of people and that effort, like, I mean, no one would give a shit about what I'm doing, you know. So I have to do my part in it to keep it going. And then also, I'm super grateful for all the folks that are also joining in, you know. It's really fucking cool, honestly. All of this is really cool.
It is, man. And like I said, I'm completely envious of what you guys got out there. We're trying to build our own thing eventually, but it's going to take a whole movement to get anywhere close to that. So you mentioned Jordan Nicks as an independent artist, or people should check out. You know, with your travels to various venues and what you're seeing on the Texas scene, particularly, is there any other artists that people should check out on the independent scene?
Yeah, I mean, I could name a handful of really good songwriters that I've run into lately. Some young guys that are really killing it right now. Henry Williams, he's a guy out of Houston that's killing it right now, and uh, my little buddy Ty Smith, he's a young cat, but he's not. And I've told him, and you're young, you know, so I'll give you some grace on some of the subject matter, but you know, he's fantastic. He's got a great choice of words, and he's a great performer, good entertainer, and a good human being. And like so, and I've traveled the country with him. He was like 17 years old, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And we got along real well. I mean, on the road, like he could hang. And we've written several really good songs together. So Ty Smith, Henry Williams, I've written some with him. And then there's a cat out of Kansas. His name's Johnny Woods. He's the one that got up on stage with me. And we had written a song together called Buffalo Nickel. And that song ended up making it to this new record I'm working on right now. But yeah, so I would say those three for sure people should pay attention to. But I'm also a super songwriter nerd. So the guys that really tickle my fancy, they kind of bubble up to the top, you know, for me anyway.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, above all, we're a music discovery platform. So I just love to hear kind of new names put to us. Familiar with Ty, definitely familiar with Johnny. We shared some of his music lately. He's put some new songs out, and it's you know, he's got a great voice and some great songs. So yeah, it's great to share that. I think, you know, having this platform to kind of put that out, and you know, you don't always find it from the algorithm or the Spotify algorithm. At least you've got to dig deep to find some of these artists. So yeah, it's great to kind of share in that respect. So, you know, we asked you some quick fire questions just a moment ago. I love to ask this question. I did try and change the name up slightly, but I think it confused some previous guests. So I'm going to keep it easy and clean this time. But the question is, you know, who's on your Mount Rushmore of musicians? You know, people that you love, who've inspired you and perhaps shaped you as a kind of musician that you are today.
That's a good question. Oh man, I hate to. I have a. I ended up with a flurry, you know, Robert Earl Keen, I would say, definitely, like, early on caught my attention. But also a lot of really, like, the likes of Dave Grohl, that style and raw rock and roll kind of vibe, like, I've always loved that. And then, I mean, you can behind each one of these folks, you can pile in a line of people, but, um I would say, for sure those two, which is I know pretty widespread, but um, some of I would say some of the other artists that just blow me away are like Jason Isbell, and like his turn of phrase is just beautiful. John Mayer's fantastic. I like Mumford and Sons. I mean, what they do is nothing short of brilliant. Um, I mean, it's a pretty wide variety, but these guys all land on my Mount Rushmore, and I know I'm not the Hank Williams Jr. guy. Like I'm not the Merle Haggard guy. I'm just not. I love their music and I appreciate it, but I'm more of like the ZZ Top. Like they created a party everywhere they went, and they still do. These people are entertainers as well as songwriters, and I appreciate all of that. But I grew up on a lot of this stuff, and I still hold it pretty dear to my heart. Those songs from those bands. I mean, the names just keep flowing out, like Chris Stapleton, etc. These
Yeah,
guys are fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic.
Awesome, man. And yeah, like you say, it's a broad kind of spectrum of genres that you just kind of pumped there. But I think that kind of you can hear those influences in your music. So I
Sure.
love to ask those sort of questions because it does kind of connect in a way. Awesome, man. You'll be pleased to know I've got a few more questions, dude, because I know you're a busy guy. But part of the Rugged Revival, we like to look after people's mental health and, find ways for people to find kind of solace in life because life's difficult, and I think particularly for artists as well, and independent artists that, might feel like, the world's against them or, the industry can take its toll on people and you feel a little bit lonely, but it's trying to find a way to kind of look after your mental health and find a way through things that in a positive manner. So I suppose that's a long-winded way of me asking, how do you kind of find solace? What ways? You mentioned earlier about mowing the lawn, taking the bins out, and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I spend time with my family. I've got a beautiful wife and I've got two dogs. In the past, I had lots of livestock. I think those things are important, but also like find a way to be productive because sometimes writing a song is not necessarily productive, or playing music in general. It's not necessarily those productive things that keep me mentally sharp. It's taking time to read a book or uh, build something like Band 2G. Like do these things keep me sharp and a little bit more, keep my vision a little bit less narrowed. I don't get so tunnel visioned on just songwriters. Like I have had guys that come to me like, my wife left me. I've got, I'm paying child support. I quit my job so I can play music. And I'm like, what advice could you give me? I'm like, get a job. Like, go, like, go, you know what I mean? Like, otherwise, like, you're doomed. I feel like this is my perspective. I know I've heard stories of guys living in a van. I'm past that now. And I've seen the worst parts of humanity in war. And so I've found a way that I can be productive, have a beautiful family, and man, you can do these things with enough willpower and discipline. And I think that's how I maintain my mental health a little bit. I do the best I can. I mean, honestly, I by no mean afflicted with anything, but I know people who are, and I feel like the best thing that they can do is find a way to have purpose in their life when they wake up. Have something to do when you wake up in the morning, and all of a sudden you'll you'll feel good about that, about being productive, instead of having anxiety about the shit that you didn't do. Instead, start checking off the boxes, Stay off the drugs too. It's not necessarily, it might feel good temporarily, but really it leads down a pretty dark path at some point.
Yep. Absolutely, dude. It's that's some good advice, and I think we're very similar people in that respect. I have to keep busy, otherwise the mind starts wandering, and like you say, that sense of achievement, I think, and that sense of creating something or doing something is really important. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that again, mate. Yeah, that's really cool to know. So, what does the future look like for you, John? What's coming up next? You mentioned a new album you're working on, which I can't wait to hear some of that, man. But what else is kind of in the pipeline?
Yeah, more shows, obviously. I'm addicted to playing live. I love it. And honestly, that's like where it all comes together, is right there. Yeah. That's where I'm right in front of the fans. I want to play shows, and I would say we have, as far as musically, we got some vinyls coming. I'm excited about that because I haven't had them yet. And we've also got, the new record that we're brewing up. And, what else is there for a fucking musician to do besides make records and play live shows? It's kind of it's an easy
obvious
answer.
question.
Yeah, it's like,
I need to switch that up. That's
what
too easy.
What do you got coming up? Well, more shows and a fucking record. Hopefully, if someone ever says I'm quitting playing shows and I'm not, if they say anything other than that, then they're not doing anything.
Well, I love your honesty, but I'm scratching that fucking question.
No,
off
you don't have to scratch it. That was just funny for me to think about. I'm like, well, I guess
no, you're not wrong though. But from a selfish perspective, mate, we want to get as many people like yourself over to the UK and playing to crowds here.
Yeah.
Have you got any, obviously the aspirations to come up, but any plans in the near future or at all to kind of leave the US and play some shows?
Yeah, I'd get on a plane tomorrow. I mean, I would. It's just one of those things where, the stars have to align a little bit. I haven't networked into meeting somebody who was able to kind of set that up, but if I did, if you're the guy, let's go. I mean, I'll fucking be there tomorrow. So yeah, my aspirations are vast. So let's go.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, we're your guys. Let's set something up, man. Awesome. Look,
Okay.
dude, I've enjoyed talking to you, John. I'm so glad we got to do this. Where can people find you, dude? I know you're all over social media, but where's kind of the easiest way if people want to get in contact or see what you're doing?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing is go to teaguebrothersband.com and teaguebrothersband.com/tour. If you want to see all the shows that we have, tickets that are available right now for you to get. And then also, I'd say all the socials, it's a good place to find us. And, at a show at the merch booth, come say hello. I want to see you at a show.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the merch booth, and again, I wish we were closer to get your hats, your koozies, and your vinyl, man. Yeah, don't talk to me about shipping vinyl over from the US. I think I needed to remortgage my house.
Oh,
for 5 vinyl, man. I think it was like £400, whatever that is in dollars. I almost had a heart attack. So,
yeah, it's hard.
I won't be doing that again. But anyway, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. We finish the show always by raising a toast. I don't know if you've got a water or any drink to hand.
Cheers.
But yeah, we raise a toast to the grit, the grind, and to the revival. And thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for John for coming on, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, God bless. Cheers.